Good afternoon, children and grandchildren. Today, Grandpa Poe is going to show you a new toolbox, all full of tools and things that are of interest. Let's see what's inside. Oh, isn't that nice? This is a special toolbox. Let's take a look at our first item. Mallet. This is used for hammering things. And this is a big one. This is for kind of big items. Grandpa Poe used this just a few days ago because he had some little wooden stakes that he needed to put into his yard to mark some things so that we didn't run over them with the lawnmower. So Grandpa Poe used this to pound them into the ground like this. Now, you might be able to use this just to drive a nail into the wall. It's a little big for that, but you could. This is a rubber mallet, which is a little different than a hammer or a steel mallet. But it could be used for both purposes, but you would have to use a little care. This is a cutter. And look at how it folds up. Look at that. So that it's easier to put in your pocket. Grandpa Poe used this just a few days back because he needed to cut a weed out of the ground that didn't want to come out very easily. So Grandpa Poe he got the cutter out and he just cut it off. This is most often used in your yard for clipping different things and maybe cutting off weeds that are growing and things like that. And it's very sharp in here, and you must use it with care. Wire stripper. Do you see how that works? This is a specific tool for doing specific things. It is used for stripping the insulation off of a wire. Grandpa Poe used this just a few days back because he was doing a little piece of wiring on his Triumph where a wire had become frayed. And so Grandpa Poe replaced the wire. This is called a nibbler. And it's made like this. Can you see it? Can you see how that works? Grandpa Poe used it, maybe a week or so back, because he had a little piece of metal that he needed to make, so he cut the metal using this tool. It is only used for cutting metal. Gland nut fastener. This tool is used for a very specific purpose, like underneath the sink where you have a fastener to fasten pipes. Grandpa Poe only used this maybe 2 or 3 months ago because he had a loose gland nut underneath his sink. It's a funny looking thing, isn't it? Air chuck. Isn't that a funny name? Air chuck. It's used to put on the end of an air hose. And you would plug the air hose into here, right here. You would plug it in right there, and then you could push down on this, and it would blow. And it's very helpful to have this, to have one of these if you have compressed air. Grandpa Poe used it just to blow some dirt out of the way, where he wanted something to be very, very clean. Isn't that interesting? See how you push down on this, and the air comes out here. It goes in here, comes out here when you push this down. It's very helpful. Grout cleaner. This is only used for a very specific purpose. In your bathroom, you have tile, and each one of those tile have a seam between them, and those seams sometimes get kind of discolored. Well, this little thing fits right in that seam, right here, right here, right here. Fits in that seam, and you go like this, and it makes it look like it's brand new. It has a very specific purpose. Grandpa Poe used it, some time back, because Grandma Poe said the tile grout looks dirty. So Grandpa Poe used it. Yeah, I used it. It worked pretty good. You could use it too. You have to be a little bit careful. This is a little bit sharp, but not too sharp. Inspection mirror. Now this is a very interesting thing. It's very interesting. What you use this for is if you need to look at something from its back side, you can put this in and turn it this way and look at what's on the opposite side. It's a mirror, and it's very helpful. Grandpa Poe uses this from time to time, and I find it very useful. There are some areas that are hard to get to, and sometimes an inspection mirror is very helpful. And Grandpa Poe used it because he had dropped something on the floor and it went behind the refrigerator. And Grandpa Poe could not figure out, I could not figure out where it went. And so I got this and I put it behind the refrigerator and I looked around and there it was on the floor. So then I moved the refrigerator and I was able to get it. It was very helpful. I'm going to show you a variation of what are called wrenches. Little bitty wrench that comes in a kit. Open end wrench. A smaller open end wrench. A box end wrench. And here, isn't that funny? It is a unique wrench for doing a particular unique job. These wrenches are all used for specific purposes. I'm going to tell you about this funny looking wrench here. It is only used for one purpose. You see how it's curved around here? It's because you have to put it in and put it around the back side of something. And this happens to be to put the nuts on an exhaust system, which I used to reattach an exhaust system on my Triumph. Now, if you were to put the legs on a table, you might use a wrench like this because the legs are fastened to the table using a nut. And you would put this on a nut and you would tighten it to tighten the nut to make the leg stable on the table. Isn't that funny? Stable on the table. It's called an open-end wrench. This is called a box-end wrench. And for certain applications, you put this over top of the nut and you turn it. And it fits very nicely on that nut. And it has two different sizes. This is the small size, and this is the big size. Now, this wrench is kind of a funny wrench. It kind of combines an open-end wrench and a box-end wrench. And they're sometimes sold with kits. And it has all these different sizes. Good mechanics don't use these very much. But if you don't have anything else, it serves a purpose. And you could use it. It's just that most mechanics don't use a combination pressed steel wrench like this. Grandpa Poe has not used one of these for a long time. Grandpa Poe would use something like this. or like this. Level. Level. These are two different levels. And let's see if you can see this. Grandpa Poe, do you see this little bubble in here? Can you see that? It's probably a little hard to see. But that bubble goes back and forth, and right in the middle are two lines. This is called a level because that's what you use it for. You use it to be sure that whatever you're working on is level. Like the table here, if I look at it, is level. If it were tilted, the bubble would go to this side. If it were tilted this way, the bubble would go to this side. And that tells you whether or not it's level. Now let's say one other thing. What if you wanted to know if something is really straight up and down? You could put this against it, and here's another little bubble in this right here. And so, if you wanted to know if it was straight up and down, then you could put this up against it. And if that bubble was right in the middle, you would know it was straight. Isn't that nice? These have been in use for many hundreds of years. They use the same method of making a determination that something was either level or vertical. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Grandpa's specific use. The other day, this was a while back, but Grandpa was going to put up a lattice that his plants could climb up. And Grandpa wanted to be sure that that lattice was straight up and down, that it wasn't leaning off to the side one way or the other way. It was nice and straight. Grandpa Poe used this level to determine was it straight up and down. When it was, Grandpa Poe took his mallet, which he had showed you before, and he pounded where the lattice went into the ground around the base of the lattice so that it stood up nice and straight. Isn't that nice? Isn't that helpful? Yes. All right. Now, this level is just made in a different way, but it has the little bubble right here in the middle, the same way that this one did. And so you could tell if something was level by going this way, and where is that bubble? And looky there. Look at that. There's another bubble there, so that you can put this against something to see if it's vertical, straight up and down. If the bubble is in the middle, it's straight up and down. If it's gone to one side, then you know it's tilted off to the side, and it's not straight. These are both doing the same thing, but they're a different size. You know what? Grandpa Poe needs a little drink. Let's have a little drink. You could have a little drink too. Very good. Was your drink good? Good for you. Okay, my children and grandchildren, we have gone through everything that was in the toolbox. All of the tools are here, and we talked about each one. Well, I hope it was fun for you. All right, now, Grandpa's going to put these all back in this toolbox for you.